Thank you. It is so great to be at Faith and Freedom today. I was asked, why is it important to be here? And that is because faith guides me in my private life, and it's important for faith to guide us in our public life as well. I look back at my time, and I want to express my appreciation to Ralph Reed for Steve and his leadership in Iowa, but for you being here and to encourage us as public leaders and candidates. But to see you in the trenches makes all the difference in our public life. My family is important to me. I've been married to my wife, Susan, for 49 years. We have 4 children and 7 grandchildren, and my grandchildren are important to me. I'll never forget that when I was in the private sector, I had to go over to Abu Dhabi in the Middle East. And I was trying to explain to my 5-year-old grandson that I was going to have to be gone. He tried to understand Abu Dhabi. He didn't get it exactly right. He goes to his kindergarten class and he tells his fellow classmates that Papa was going to have to spend the weekend in Hobby Lobby. My faith has always guided me in the public arena, and I have been fighting for our values that we believe in for faith and freedom since I got involved as a young lawyer in our community. I went to Bob Jones University. I understand how biblical values impact your life in whatever profession you're in. I had the privilege of going to Notre Dame when Francis Schaeffer was alive, and he had a religious freedom conference there in which I was there as a young lawyer. And I heard him talk about the book, How Shall We Then Live? And whenever you look at the biblical worldview and you look at the secular worldview, we have so much to fight for in terms of our faith and freedom. We are on this earth to impact our community and make a difference for eternity. And that is why, as a young professional, as a young parent, I started and worked with others, my brother, to start a Christian school because I believed in choice in education. I started Bentonville's first FM radio station in which we put John MacArthur on and James Dobson and Chuck Swindoll because I wanted our community to be exposed to these great Bible teachers. In 1986, when I ran for the United States Senate, I went to my first Right for Life rally in Little Rock, Arkansas. And at that time, I was the only public official there. I wasn't a public official, I was a candidate, the only one there. And I said, Roe versus Wade needs to be reversed. It was wrongly decided. That was a long time ago. And thanks to you and your education, your advocacy, we have won that battle, and the Supreme Court has acted and reversed it. I served the United States Congress on the Judiciary Committee. Chairman Hyde was there, and I had to fight for our pro-life values. I had to fight for our Second Amendment, and I waged battle with Congressman Nadler, Maxine Waters, and Barney Frank. And so I have stood in the trenches fighting for our values, and as governor of Arkansas for 8 years, let me tell you, it was my honor to sign over 30 pro-life bills. And Arkansas has been ranked, after 8 years of my leadership, as the #1 pro-life state in America by Americans United for Life. I signed the medical conscience bill, saying that medical providers can follow their conscience whenever it comes to medical care. I signed the bill that said biological men should not be competing in women's sports. And when we got notice from the Obama administration, from their Department of Education, that went directly to our school superintendents, that you need to make sure that the students can choose their own gender identity bathroom. I looked at that and I announced publicly that our school superintendents can ignore that advice from Washington. It is federal overreach. It is not something that is required under the law, and they took my advice, and we handled it based upon parents and local school board decisions. Whenever Planned Parenthood was investigated, and it came to me that they were not handling the issues appropriately in their clinics, I asked our Medicaid division to decertify Planned Parenthood, and we did. We've given $1 million to support pro-life pregnancy crisis centers across the state. These are pro-life values that I have supported as governor and throughout my public career. And yes, as president, I would fight to make sure taxpayer funds are not used to support abortion. And if Congress acts, I will sign a federal law to restrict abortion as well as President of the United States. Now let's look at the important role of parents, and let me outline some important principles. First of all, there's a fundamental principle of faith and freedom, and that is that parents are God's guiding hands in raising children. Secondly, the government should not force parents to send their children to a government school. It's called choice in education. It is called freedom. Third, God created two genders, and children should not be confused on this. But if there is confusion, parents, not the government, should guide the children. And schools should not hide these issues from the parents. And then let me say this, that minors should not be allowed to have gender reassignment surgery. This is a valid limit on important constitutional liberties. And we should remember that under our Constitution and freedoms, the liberty interest of parents in the care, custody, and control of the children is perhaps the oldest of the fundamental liberty interests recognized in our Constitution. I don't want the left-leaning governments in California to tell parents what kind of care they need to provide for their children. Those are the rights that are fundamental to parents. And so what can you expect from a Hutchinson administration? By the way, I am running for President of the United States. You can expect a pro-growth energy policy where we're going to produce energy again in this country. As former head of the DEA, you can expect us to address the fentanyl crisis in America. As former Undersecretary at Homeland Security that had responsibility for securing our border, let me tell you, I know what needs to be done, and we can do better what this administration has done. We can secure the border. And we need economic growth in this country that is based upon individual responsibility and opportunity for everyone. We need to kick our economy going. And then we need to have an America that is not second to China. I was appointed by Ronald Reagan as United States Attorney, so he's a mentor of mine. And he understood that peace comes from strength, that we need to lead this global marketplace of Western ideas and culture. We need to lead in freedom. That's what America stands for. And let me tell you that these are unpredictable times that we find ourselves in. Difficult times, challenging times. And we need new leadership to replace the failed policies of President Biden. We need leadership that understands our national character that is individual responsibility, that is freedom-based, that is opportunity, but it is also reflecting the goodness of America that is manifested by Christians all across this country, people of faith. That's what a president of the United States should reflect. And I want to be a president that brings out the best of America. I understand the challenging times that we face, and I'm reminded of the scripture verse in Isaiah 6:1, where the prophet said, "In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord high, exalted, and seated on his throne." Those were traumatic times when King Uzziah died because he had been there a long time. and people were shaken by it. And I would reflect today that sometimes we think our foundations are shaken. But let's remember in this country that God is still on his throne, that God is still in control of the affairs of humans. And we need to trust, we need to ask his guidance, we need to seek his blessing on the United States of America. Thank you, and God bless you.